Grammar Lesson 67, Quotation Marks and Apostrophes. Now, actually, this lesson, grade 6, you have learned all of these concepts this year before, whether that was in writing class or in grammar class. So this is a bit of a review lesson, but it's been a while since you've looked at either of these things, so I figured it's always good to do a bit of review. So quotation marks, we've used these in writing before, and anytime you are writing a story that has somebody speaking, or even if you're writing a paragraph and you're directly quoting somebody, so you're writing down the exact words that they are saying, you need to use quotation marks. Now, we already looked at last time that you need to always have commas before you start saying something that is a direct quote. So in the first example here, Melanie said, comma, "This car is making a very strange noise." Notice there's a comma there, but there are also quotation marks enclosing the exact words that Melanie said. Okay? Now, if you have the beginning of your sentence as a direct quote, you start with those quotation marks. Maybe we should pull over, but notice there's once again a comma, suggested Amy. Or if you jumped down to here, this last example, "Be patient," Max responded, "while I finish the project." The words that Max is saying are "be patient" and "while I finish the project." But since we have an interrupter in the middle there, pay attention, we need to have, change my color here. We need to have quotation marks around everything that he's saying, but we also need to have double commas. Okay, so just a bit of a review on that. Pay attention to the fact that anything that anybody is saying should have quotation marks around it, whether it comes at the beginning of the sentence or the end, or whether there is an interrupter in the middle. And pay attention to those commas as well. Then the second half of your lesson has to do with apostrophes. Now, we've used apostrophes in both of these ways before. The first way is to use an apostrophe for a possessive noun. So if something belongs to somebody else. So in the first example here, Amy's ballet class. The ballet class belongs to Amy. She participates in the ballet class. So we need to have an apostrophe S. No, I guess you can't really see that, can you? Let's try sort of this pinkish color. Oh, there you can see it. You need to have an apostrophe to show that the ballet class belongs to Amy. Okay, but there are a few things that we looked at earlier in the year, is that when you have a plural noun, so the bedroom belongs to the parents, plural, there are two parents, you need to put the apostrophe at the end after the S, and you don't add on another S. So for Amy, in order to change Amy, we needed to add an apostrophe S to say that the ballet class belonged to her. If you have a plural noun, you just need to add an apostrophe, okay? But if your plural noun does not end in S, so in the example down here, the children's rooms. Children is a plural noun. It refers to more than one child, but since it doesn't end in an S, you still do an apostrophe S. So really you can just think about it. The only time you have to pay attention and not just add an apostrophe S is when you have a plural noun that ends in S. Okay, so plural noun, oh boy, messy writing, ends in S is the only time you have to pay attention. Okay, and then the last one, I'll draw a line here, section it off, is you need to use apostrophes when you make contractions, which is when you take two words and you put them together and you remove a couple of letters. And these are generally easier to remember because we're very used to using them. But anytime you have taken out letters to make a contraction, the apostrophe goes where the letters were. Okay, so for the example of are not, we've taken out the O of not, and when we put those two words together, that's where the apostrophe goes. Okay, or they will, we took out the WI, and that's where the apostrophe has to go when you are making a contraction. So that's it. That's all the review. You should be good to go on your lesson now.